Hello and welcome to Grand County and the headwaters of the Colorado River Basin. The water issues that you'll hear about today are the focus of the Colorado River Basin Roundtable.
Good morning, everyone. The Fraser Sediment Pond was completed in 2011 to protect downstream water quality in the Fraser River by trapping traction sand applied over winter at Berthoud Pass. This is part of Denver Water's commitment to fulfill the Colorado River Cooperative Agreement. And where we are today is we're in what we call the North Collection System, or the Moffett Collection System. And so we have over 3,000 miles of pipeline and 32 diversion structures up in this upper Fraser Basin. We've removed roughly 5,400 tons of traction sand from this structure behind me. So that you can imagine the impacts to the fishery that would be realized if that continued to move downstream. If you've ever been to the East Portal Moffett Tunnel, it comes out near Rollinsville, and the water enters South Boulder Creek and then eventually flows into Gross Reservoir. One of our major capital projects that began just this spring was the Gross Reservoir Expansion Project. This is really an amazing partnership now and a great future for the river.
So a couple of benefits to Grand County that I'll point out is once the Moffett Tunnel project becomes operational, is Grand County gets 1,000 acre-feet every year of environmental water to release whenever we see fit to benefit the river. We sometimes deal with high stream temperatures, and so that environmental water can be used to help those out in the peak of the summer. And then two of the actions that is a part of the agreement is the Fraser Sediment Pond, which is where we're at today. And then another action is the learning by doing. The primary goal of learning by doing is to maintain and where reasonably possible, restore or enhance the condition of the aquatic environment in Grand County. And then the last thing that we just started is the update to the Grand County Stream Management Plan to give us a better understanding of current conditions here in Grand County.
Supplies from the Colorado Big Thompson project provide roughly supplemental irrigation to just over 600,000 acres of farmland in the South Platte Basin. A lot of that water owned by the municipalities, and there's about 35 different municipalities that own CBT water. Windy Gap came to be in the 1960s. 6 municipalities in the Northern Front Range came together because they didn't want to take that CBT water out of agriculture. Fast forward to the mid-1980s, Windy Gap became a reality. In years when there was the ability for this facility to divert water, there was not room in the rest of the CBT system, primarily in Lake Granby. This pumps right into Lake Granby. So Northern Water went under construction about a year ago on what's known as Chimney Hollow Reservoir, and it's going to give the ability to this for Windy Gap to have more reliable yield.
The roundtable just went through the 2022 Basin Implementation Plan update to really look at needs of the entire Colorado River Basin and really update the list of projects from the 2015 BIP. Super important as this all rolls up into the updated state water plan. Standing behind me is a perfect example of that. The Windy Gap Connectivity Channel was one of our BIP projects from 2015. Since the construction of Windy Gap, there have been significant environmental impacts downstream. And for Grand County, when we looked at Windy Gap, the one thing that was so important to us was how do we reconnect the Colorado River around Windy Gap or shrink the size of the footprint. So if you look behind me, the connectivity channel will be winding through there, and there'll be a new diversion which will direct the majority of the flow down the new connectivity channel and then only direct flow into the new reservoir footprint when Windy Gap is pumping. The relationship wasn't great between Grand County and Northern Water or Grand County and Denver Water, but through these processes you build relationships, and it's because of those relationships that's the only way you get stuff done.
Environmentally speaking, it's a bad idea to put a dam in the main stem of a river. We found that out within 10 years of this reservoir operating. The macroinvertebrate life started to diminish. Part of the problem was that this is a shallow reservoir. During storm events, that sediment off the bottom gets stirred and dropped over the top, and the sediment has been filling in the voids between the rocks where the macroinvertebrates live. The fish have lost their source of food, so even though there's a lot of fish, they don't grow to be the size they used to. So the first thing you notice when you put a dam in the middle of a main stem is fish passage. No longer can the large fish get upstream to spawn where they used to up in the Fraser Valley. So when we complete this channel, we will have fish passage, and we will have gravels once again migrating down and reestablishing that macroinvertebrate habitat. We are increasing the health of our environmental water while also protecting a water supply for the Front Range.
I'm sure you're aware in 2020 about the East Troublesome fire that roared through Grand County. It actually started about 4 miles to the west of here. We got rain up our valley. We had 3 36-inch culverts that backed the water up, dropped all of its sediment up by this bridge, and flooded this whole area. Didn't get hit with another storm the whole rest of the year, so we were approached by the county and NRCS for the Emergency Watershed Protection Project, which we were very grateful and excited to be a part of.
If you're not familiar with the Emergency Watershed Protection Program, it's primarily for private inholdings, private lands, in particular conservation related to agricultural lands. After the fire's out, there were presidential disaster declarations that were made, both for East Troublesome as well as for the Cameron Peak, and that's really what initiates the emergency watershed protection. The NRCS collaborates with, in the most cases, a local agency or local government. So in the case of East Troublesome fire, NRCS worked extensively with Northern Water, and then obviously Grand County had a really strong interest, and the NRCS funds 75% of the project. Typically, the other 25% comes from the landowner. Well, in this case, the Colorado Water Conservation Board and the Colorado Legislature decided that they would put money into covering that other 25%. We can look at some of the other parts of the project. This was a significant piece, the kind of sizing of this channel.
My family owns Reeder Creek Ranch. That's where you're standing. We irrigate grass hay meadows, but for our meadows down here, we primarily pull out of the Kenny Barger ditch, which is this ditch right behind you. The hot topic over the last bunch of years has been demand management. And the concept of demand management, when you actually sit down at the table and talk about it, is they say, well, how much water are we actually going to save if we dry a hay meadow out? Nobody knows how much water a perennial mountain forage field actually uses. When we redid that meadow, we decided that we were going to put a lot more natives in. We were going to put a lot of drought-tolerant grasses in. We decided to put some remote sensing equipment up there so they could study it. And it turns out that the forages that we planted up there produces more forage and consumes less water than any other meadow in the valley. So those results are extremely exciting.